Welcome back to Power Play. I'm Mike Emanuel filling in for Chris Stirewalt, and that was President Obama obviously in favor of the Democrats passing in the United States Senate yesterday the tax cuts for those making up to $250,000. Not expected to go anywhere in the House of Representatives because the Republicans there would like to extend all the Bush tax cuts. We've got a couple of experts here to break it down for us, talk a little bit about Capitol Hill, which is my home turf. Joining me here in the studio are Ford O'Connell, who is a former presidential campaign advisor, and Doug Thornell, former DCCC spokesman. And they're sitting very close together. I'm assured they're not going to drop the gloves and start smacking each other around. So, gentlemen, what about the tax cut issue? Where do we go from here? It seems like the House and the Senate, as we've seen a lot this year, are miles apart on this.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think we could have a very partisan conversation here, and I actually think that both sides, for the good of the economy, really need to get together and do something about the overall tax code. You know, the House probably won't do anything. I don't really understand from the Republican messaging how they can actually justify voting against this.
Let me jump in there. I do agree with you that this is ridiculous because essentially you're not going to bring certainty and investment to the economy until you have wholesale tax reform, both with the corporate tax code, which is the highest in the world, and with the individual tax code. That said, though, what President Obama and the Senate Democrats are essentially saying is, to the top 2% who are 1 million small business owners who file their business income on individual returns, is that if you built that, you're going to be taxed further on that. And right now, given the fact that we've had 40 straight months of unemployment at 8% or higher, this is not a good thing. And the other thing is it's not just the earned income that's going to rise for the wealthiest 2%. What's going to happen here is that capital gains are going to jump from 15% to 23.8%. And we're trying to create certainty in a market. And what's going to happen somewhere around December 27th is that people are going to sell their investment income instruments and further throw this weak economy into greater chaos.
Well, let me just say this. First of all, you know, Republicans throw around this what has been debunked, that small businesses would be taxed because of this plan. In fact, 98% of small businesses would enjoy a tax cut under the president's plan. And the 2% that Republicans point out, many of them are pass-through entities that are subsidiaries of very large consulting groups, merger acquisition firms. So, look, the larger issue here, and I don't know when this is going to be settled. I think it's not going to happen in the lame duck. It's going to happen next year or the year after. There needs to be a wholesale reform of the tax code. I think Democrats and Republicans agree on. I think Democrats and Republicans also agree that we shouldn't raise taxes on the middle class. The problem is we voted for it yesterday, and Republicans are blocking it. And I think from an electoral standpoint, that could be problematic.
Republicans don't want the middle class to pay higher taxes. What you're not talking about is a tax cut. You're talking about a tax increase. And essentially, what most people don't know is when it comes to earned income, 50% of Americans don't pay federal income tax.
Guys,
that's a big point.
We're 103 days out from the election. You know, so what's the impact of this vote yesterday? Did some Democrats who voted just for the middle class tax cut walk the plank? Who, you know, those who may be in tough re-elect battles, who maybe didn't want to weigh in on this issue pre-election?
I actually don't think they walk the plank at all. They can go out there and talk about how they cut taxes for everyone, but they don't believe that right now, with where our deficit is, that we should be giving a tax cut to folks who make over $250,000. Now, from a messaging standpoint, look, I think both sides are going to have something to take away from this, but I don't really see it as a problematic vote for Senate Democrats.
McCaskill, Missouri, Nelson in Florida did walk the plank. One thing they were concerned about, which goes back to the capital gains, was making sure the dividends didn't go up to 45% down to 20%. Republicans in competitive Senate challengers and competitive Senate races really got a leg up today. The question is how they use that and how they message that moving forward. If they do it right, regardless of whether or not President Obama wins re-election, they could very well take this.
I want to get to another topic, which is we've seen a lot of gridlock on the Hill, guys. A lot of people are saying, oh, the election will sort it out. Will the election sort it out, or are we heading for 2 more years of this or 4 more years of what we see right now?
I think it depends on whether or not President Obama is ousted. I do think we're going to see a lot of gridlock if President Obama is reelected, because likely we could have a tight balance of control, or maybe the Republicans up by 1. That said, though, I do think when it comes to certain issues, if we do not overcome them, like the tax code, the economy is going to suffer dearly, and jobs will suffer as a result of it, because the deal here is to create certainty in the economy and the tax code, and that's how you lead America.
Well, certainty is not accomplished by opposing the plan that Democrats put out yesterday.
Well, extending it 1 year doesn't create certainty.
In fact, that we had the tax rates that Ford's defending for 8 years under George Bush, and he was the worst job-creating president we've seen in years.
But the unemployment rate was never that high.
It went up 3 points his last.
You have
800,000 jobs lost.
We never had
January.
8% for 40 straight months. We never even had 8%.
Ford, you know that the last year and a half, he had 3 recessions under his presidency. 3 recessions. But look, as it comes
none
to...
of them were this bad.
Well, this recession started under Bush, so you're
okay.
right. So, but yeah, you're absolutely... I think, look, will something happen in the next Congress? I actually think it just depends on, if Obama wins and he wins with a sizable margin, I think that gives him a mandate. I think, look, if Romney wins, he gets a honeymoon period, and there may be some stuff that could get done. But look, we're in a very entrenched partisan environment right now in Washington, and it's very hard to get anything done.
I do agree with you, but I do think that eventually when this election is over, we are going to have to cross party lines, and we're going to have to work on things like the tax code and creating that certainty, because really at the end of the day, it's the American workers suffering.
We have to leave it there. Gentlemen, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Stay with us. More Power Play Live coming up.